Open access matters because people need to read what you do. And so if we're only publishing in journals that are closed, the type of information that you produce is just not getting out to a general audience. It depends on what your discipline is, what your research is, but for the type of work that I do, I'm not only speaking to other academics, but I'm also speaking to practitioners, policymakers, NGO advocates, and so open access very much matters in this type of case. I've used open access in several ways. One is through my book. I arranged with U Ottawa Press to have my book be open access. It was something that they wanted to experiment with, and I think it's been a really good thing. It was partly because it would have been too expensive for counterparts and colleagues and others interested in Southeast Asia, where I do most of my research, to actually access the book. And so this was one of the reasons I really wanted to make it open access, so people could download it, read it, get in touch with me. I found that students really appreciate it. Textbooks, costs of tuition, etc. are always an issue, and so open access lets everybody read it. And yet those that need a hardcover book and need to mark it up, they can then buy the book, or they can print it out and do that themselves. I've also used it in terms of the journals that I choose. I specifically target open access journals. Not always. U Ottawa has a good policy of supporting the funding to actually do that, and so there's no reason why I would be prohibited to do so. So I target open access journals as a way of getting that information out to an academic audience, but a broader audience as well. To keep going with open access, I also have a website where I post the abstracts of all my papers, along with the web links for those things that are actually open access. So the journals that are open access, I can produce that, and I think that's really helpful in terms of others just getting access to information and building on a body of knowledge, so that people actually move beyond kind of silos and can integrate what's actually happening. And so I think that's really important as well. And open access just lets you be more transparent about the types of things you're producing. I think I just feel better about my work being produced in a way that multiple audiences can read it. While peer review publication is important and it is a benchmark, you can do it in a way that you get the respect of your peers with also getting respect of other audiences. And so just enabling more people to access the work has been important, but also to actually build on the work. And so for my colleagues in Cambodia or Vietnam to read something and say, hey, you should check this out, or hey, can you help me with this, or hey, let's work on this idea together, or you're wrong about this, let's rethink it. It keeps me more engaged, and that I really appreciate. I mean, peer review is key to our discipline, but you can do peer review in an open access way. There's also degrees of open access. There's open access in the sense that your article is open on the web and nobody has to pay for it. And then there's other forms of open access on this continuum where people are talking about producing drafts and getting comment, etc. I mean, there's a continuum, and you might not be comfortable with getting draft papers up and getting people to comment on it, and that's fine. You can still go through a peer review double-blind process and then make your findings available to people. So I think there's a range of things that can be done, and you can still participate in open access without without compromising your confidentiality or your ethics, etc. There is a debate about open access, and I realize that some people are quite hesitant about it, and I think, to be fair, it does depend on your discipline. It depends on the type of work, the type of audience you're going for. There may be reasons why publications such as Science or Nature are not open access, and I think that's also okay. We don't need to make everything open access, but depending on the work you are doing, for someone in the social sciences, often it's the type of information that is policy relevant and so makes sense. to do so. But each individual has to think that through for themselves. So by no means do I want to suggest that everything should be open access, but in my case, it definitely makes sense.